Meet Hiroshi, a Japanese student who at age 12 could recall over 2,000 kanji characters, not because he studied longer, but because he studied smarter. While most students rely on rereading and highlighting, which feel productive but don't actually build memory, Hiroshi used methods that work with the brain's forgetting curve. Instead of passively consuming information, he practiced spaced repetition, active recall, and multisensory learning, techniques that turn study time into lasting knowledge. Preview and review. Before every study session, Hiroshi does something most students skip. He previews material for 15 to 20 minutes, skimming to identify 3 key points. This is called yoshu, and it creates mental scaffolding. Your brain knows what's coming, so when you encounter it again, it processes faster and deeper. Then comes the critical part, fukushu, or review. The same day after learning, Hiroshi reviews for 20 to 30 minutes and summarizes everything in just 3 bullet points. This isn't arbitrary. Research shows reviewing within 24 hours captures information before the forgetting curve destroys it. Western students often consume content once and hope it sticks. Japanese students engineer multiple exposures, preview, learn, review, 3 touches instead of 1. Morning study sessions. Hiroshi uses Asaben, studying in the early morning when the mind is fresh. Even 30 to 60 minutes of high-focus work right after waking, 4 times per week, creates significant results. The prefrontal cortex, your brain's logic and reasoning center, is sharpest in the first hours after waking. Japanese students leverage this natural peak performance window for their most demanding mental work. Active recall, testing before the test. Hiroshi doesn't reread his notes hoping information will stick. He tests himself constantly. He closes his book, grabs a blank sheet of paper, and writes down everything he remembers about the topic. It feels frustrating at first. That's the point. Every time you force your brain to retrieve information, you're strengthening neural pathways. Every struggle to recall something isn't failure. It's the actual mechanism of learning. Research shows students using active recall perform 50% better on tests than those who simply reread material, even when spending the same amount of time. The red sheet method, also known as sheet hoe. Here's a brilliantly simple technique. Hiroshi creates 2-column sheets with questions on the left and answers written in red ink on the right. Then he uses a translucent red plastic sheet to cover the answers. The red sheet makes the red text invisible, turning any page into an instant self-quiz. Test yourself, lift the sheet to check, repeat. No elaborate systems needed, just paper, red pen, and a plastic sheet. This combines active recall with immediate feedback loops. You're constantly testing and verifying. Writing to learn. Japanese students physically write out key points, vocabulary, and equations by hand. This practice increases retention significantly compared to passive reading or typing. The motor act of writing activates different brain regions, creating stronger memory encoding. The physical act of forming each character creates a motor memory alongside the conceptual memory. Hiroshi rewrites key points in his own words, always with example sentences for vocabulary or applications for formulas. He's not copying, he's processing through his hand. Ondoku and shadowing. Reading out loud. Hiroshi reads material out loud, a technique called ondoku. For language learning, he listens to a sentence and immediately repeats it out loud, called shadowing. For textbooks, he reads paragraphs out loud to cement memory. Why does this work? It engages multiple senses simultaneously: visual, auditory, and motor. The more pathways to a memory, the stronger it becomes. Studies show reading out loud improves retention by up to 15% compared to silent reading. It forces you to slow down and actually process each word. Anki and spaced repetition. Japanese students have used spaced repetition called hanpuku long before computer programs existed. Now many use Anki, a digital flashcard system that shows you information right before you're about to forget it. Hiroshi starts with just 10 to 20 new cards per day to avoid burnout. Each card is atomic, focused on one single fact. He uses close deletions for formulas and definitions, where parts of a sentence are hidden and you fill in the blanks. Mnemonics and radicals, breaking down complexity. For complex information, especially kanji characters, Hiroshi breaks things into smaller parts called radicals, then creates vivid one-sentence stories linking them. The kanji for rest combines the radicals for person and tree. The story, a person resting against a tree. Simple, visual, memorable. For any hard fact, create a one-sentence image or mini-story linking the parts. Your brain remembers stories and images far better than abstract symbols. Matome note, one-page summaries. After each study block, Hiroshi creates what's called a Matome note, each topic reduced to one clear page, containing only key formulas, vocabulary, and concepts. This forces synthesis. You can't fit everything on one page, so you must identify what truly matters versus what's supporting detail. The act of condensing information is itself powerful learning. It requires understanding at a deeper level than copying. These one-page summaries become his quick review materials before tests. Kakumon, past exam papers. Japanese test culture heavily emphasizes practicing with old exams, called kakumon. This isn't just about content knowledge, it's about test-taking mastery. Hiroshi doesn't just read past papers, he simulates the actual test environment, times himself, works through problems under exam conditions, then carefully reviews every mistake and notes recurring question types. This accomplishes three critical things. 1. Familiarizes him with question formats and phrasing. 2. Identifies specific knowledge gaps while there's still time to fix them. 3. Builds test-taking stamina and reduces anxiety. By test day, the format feels familiar. There are no surprises. Micro goals and checklists. Large goals feel overwhelming. Japanese students break them into tiny, visible tasks and tick them off throughout the day. For each study session, Hiroshi writes a simple checklist. Do 10 Anki cards. Solve 3 kakumon problems. Create 1 Matome note page. The act of ticking items off releases dopamine, creating positive reinforcement. You're not facing a mountain of work. You're completing a series of small, achievable tasks. This relates to the Kaizen philosophy, continuous improvement through tiny, consistent actions. Getting 1% better each day for a year means you end up 37 times better by year's end. Group study and accountability. Japanese cram schools, called juku or yobiko, create competitive group atmospheres that push focus. Students study together with clear goals and timed work sessions. You can replicate the benefits with a small weekly study group. Even 2 to 3 people meeting online weekly transforms consistency through social accountability. Studies show people who commit to goals publicly are 65% more likely to achieve them. Regular peer check-ins push that even higher. Pomodoro Technique and study timing. For timing work sessions, Hiroshi experiments with different approaches. Sometimes 50-minute work blocks with 10-minute breaks, other times the Pomodoro Technique, 25 minutes focused work with 5-minute breaks. The key is finding what matches your attention span and task complexity. Deep analysis might need 50-minute blocks. Flashcard review might work better in 25-minute sprints. Many Japanese students use study cafes, dedicated spaces designed specifically for focused work. The environment itself reinforces productivity. Everyone around you is working, creating collective momentum. Shu, ritual and focus. Japanese students practice shu, a state of deep focus created through ritual. Hiroshi has a dedicated study space. He uses the same pen each time. He places his phone in another room. These rituals signal to the brain it's time to focus. By creating consistent environmental cues, you reduce decision fatigue and slide into concentration more easily. The average person checks their phone over 90 times a day, creating 90 broken focus cycles. Each interruption takes up to 23 minutes to fully recover from. Hiroshi checks messages in batches during breaks, not constantly. His focus blocks are sacred, protected time. The Feynman technique, teaching back. Every evening, Hiroshi picks one concept he learned and explains it out loud as if teaching a child. This is the Feynman technique, named after physicist Richard Feynman. Teaching forces your brain to organize information, simplify complex ideas, and discover gaps in your understanding. If you can't explain something simply, you don't truly understand it yet. Reading something isn't learning, but when you explain it in your own words, reorganizing and simplifying as you speak, that's when understanding crystallizes. Brain fuel and hydration. The brain is about 75% water. Even mild dehydration, just 2% fluid loss, slows reaction time and causes brain fog. Hiroshi keeps water nearby during all study sessions. He also makes deliberate food choices. Salmon for omega-3s that build brain cell membranes, blueberries for antioxidants, nuts for sustained energy. No heavy meals that steal blood flow from the brain to the digestive system. Light, nutrient-dense meals keep energy stable. Heavy, processed meals create the afternoon crash that destroys the second half of your study day. Movement breaks. After intense study blocks, Hiroshi takes 10 to 15-minute walks. No headphones, just movement and breathing. Walking activates the default mode network, your brain's creative circuit where ideas connect in unexpected ways. Blood flow to the brain increases by up to 20%, clearing mental fog. Studies show walking boosts creative output by 60%. This isn't wasted time, it's when your brain consolidates what you just learned. Power naps, the midday reset. Between 1 to 2 p.m., when focus naturally dips, Hiroshi doesn't push through. He sets a 20-minute timer and naps. Power naps improve memory consolidation, increase alertness, and boost emotional regulation. Research shows a 20-minute nap is optimal. Longer risks grogginess. Shorter doesn't complete a sleep cycle. Elite students treat rest as part of the study system, not a sign of weakness. Evening reflection. At day's end, Hiroshi spends 5 minutes reflecting. What did I accomplish? What slowed me down? What should I prioritize tomorrow? This turns every day into a feedback loop. Instead of repeating mistakes, he learns from them and adjusts. He writes tomorrow's top 3 priorities before bed. This closes mental loops, the Zeigarnik effect, where the brain stays alert to unfinished tasks. By externalizing tomorrow's plan, his mind relaxes for better sleep. Sleep, where memory consolidates. Hiroshi protects 7 to 9 hours of sleep. During deep sleep, the brain's glymphatic system clears toxins, consolidates memories from short-term to long-term storage, and strengthens neural connections. Without quality sleep, everything you learned during the day remains fragile. With it, learning solidifies into lasting knowledge. He optimizes sleep, no caffeine after 2 p.m., dim lights an hour before bed, cool room temperature around 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, no screens in the bedroom. Elite students understand that tomorrow's performance is built on today's recovery.